So our friends over at B&H graciously offered to send me a few cameras of my choice to check out, and since you guys always ask what kind of camera you should buy within a certain budget, I thought, let's talk about that. So today, let's take a look at what you can get today under $1,000. B&H is our go-to place to shop for all of our photo, video, and audio solutions. Check out the link in the video's description to learn more. To be clear, when looking at the $1,000 price point, I wanted to find cameras that you could actually shoot with for that amount of money, potential lens cost included. There are cameras like the Blackmagic Pocket and the recently released Sony A6300, which come in at under $1,000 but for the body only. So for that price point, to get them shoot ready, you would need to spend a bit more depending on your needs. So let's dive into your options below the $1,000 price point. First up, we have Sony's RX-100 Mark IV. Now, while it's a point and shoot, it is by no means a slouch when it comes to stills or video. On the inside, the RX-100 has a 24 megapixel 1-inch sensor with Sony's latest Bions X processor. Glass-wise, it's sporting a 35mm equivalent focal length of 24 to 70mm from Zeiss that has a rather fast iris range of f1.8 to f2.8, which will still give you the ability to obtain a shallow depth of field even from the smaller sensor. Along with all the hardware specs, the RX-100 boasts 4K video up to 30 FPS at 100 megabits per second and 1080p up to 120 FPS with a high frame rate mode that goes all the way up to 960 frames per second, being available in various lower resolutions. The RX-100 is great if your needs fit within the functionality of a point-and-shoot camera. To me, it's a great sidearm camera for quick shots or stills where you don't want to carry a bigger body but still want a really solid image. In our tech shopping in Switzerland video, 90% of the footage used was shot on the RX-100, shooting in 4K at 30 FPS. It was the perfect fit for that video since we didn't really want to draw too much attention to ourselves while shooting in each location. As far as point and shoots go, the RX-100 is the bleeding edge of what technology has to offer in a compact camera. But if a point and shoot isn't quite your speed, let's take a look at your other options. So this is the Canon T6i, or 750D in regions outside North America. Similar to my very first camera, the Canon 60D, it's a mid-tier DSLR in Canon's range and sports a 24 megapixel sensor in a fairly standard DSLR-sized body that has a rather useful articulating 3-inch touchscreen that you can control all of your settings from, or if you're like me and prefer buttons, it has physical buttons and dials for all of your most important settings like ISO, shutter speed, and iris control. Now, while the T6i is not a groundbreaking camera for its class in the same way the RX-100 is, it still offers plenty to those of you just starting out. The APS-C size sensor will give you the control to have a shallower depth of field if you really want to isolate your subjects from the background. The EF mount on the T6i gives you access to the wide range of glass available to Canon cameras like this very inexpensive Canon 50mm f1.8, which when paired with the T6i is still comfortably under $1,000. Video-wise, you're getting 1080p up to 30 FPS and 60 FPS being available at 720p. On paper, the T6i doesn't quite match the RX-100's video settings, but specs aren't everything. As a 1080p camera, it's still a great way to learn the basics of exposure, composition, and what makes a good image in general. And as a stills camera, the T6i is still a worthy first step, particularly in its color reproduction, which Canon has become known for over the years. Now, if a traditional DSLR and a point and shoot don't really fit your needs, you might want to take a look at Panasonic's G7. Coming in at $550, the lowest in our lineup, it's a 16 megapixel micro four thirds size sensor capable of very similar 4K to that of its more expensive big brother, the GH4. Physically, Panasonic gave the G7 all the hardware, buttons, and dials you need. The dual dials in particular on this camera are a nice touch for exposure control. It also features 5 programmable buttons to set and perform most useful functions. Along with that, the G7 has an articulating touchscreen similar to that of the Canons, making shooting at various heights or odd angles a breeze. Size-wise, the G7 comes in slightly smaller than the T6i, but also bigger and a bit easier to handle than the RX-100, making it a good middle ground between the two cameras. While internally the G7 has a smaller sensor than the T6i, it makes up for it with its sharper overall video. Now, whether that's the type of look that you prefer is up to you, since the colors on the G7, in my opinion, seem a bit less natural overall than most Canon or Sony cameras. The G7 also has the added flexibility of the micro four thirds mount, so you have the option to adapt a wide variety of lenses to this camera with adapters such as the Metabone Speed Booster, which I covered in this video here, However, keep in mind that when adapting lenses, there are trade-offs like slower or non-existent autofocus, physical weight increases due to use of larger lenses made for other cameras, along with the added expense of buying an adapter that fits your needs and budget. Native Micro Four Thirds lenses are a good option if you still want to maintain the small form factor from your camera to your lens, and with the increased popularity of Micro Four Thirds cameras, lens selection has continued to get stronger, and there's something for nearly any budget available to you. So in conclusion, all these cameras have their pros and cons depending on the situation. The important thing to take away here is that there is not and will not ever be a perfect camera for all situations. Do your best to identify your needs and budget, and then compare to find the camera that best fits you. Speaking of finding the camera that best fits you, B&H. B&H has been LMG's go-to place to order everything production related, from cameras, audio, and lighting gear. They have an extremely comprehensive selection that will fit whatever budget you have for buying gear. They also have a deal zone section on their website where they have a different item every single day offered at a very competitive discount. They have free shipping on all orders to the US over $49 with end-to-end tracking, so you know exactly when your purchase will arrive. I should know, since I've had Linus spend thousands of dollars of LNG money for the last 3 years there on all the production gear we have in the office. So if you're looking to purchase your very first camera, I highly recommend checking them out at the link in the video description. So thank you guys for watching. If this video sucked, you know what to do, but if it was awesome, get subscribed, hit that like button, or even consider supporting us directly by using our affiliate code to shop at Amazon, buying a cool t-shirt like this one, or with a direct monthly contribution through the forum. Now that you're done doing all that stuff, you're probably wondering what to watch next, so click that little button in the top right hand corner to check out this video on lighting and why we switched to LEDs.